Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The Supreme Court has ordered Vice President Sara Duterte to respond within 10 days to the House's appeal on her impeachment case.
Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV claims that Vice President Sara Duterte and her predecessor Leni Robredo are actually good friends.
The Philippines and India signs various bilateral agreements following a meeting between President Bongbong Marcos and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
The low-pressure area of Quezon and the southwest monsoon are expected to bring rains to parts of the country today, according to Pag-asa.
First in the news, former Vice President Leni Robredo's then spokesperson is dismissing claims that she had a secret alliance with her successor, Vice President Sara Duterte. Here's the report.
Former Senator Sonny Trillanes claims that Vice President Sara Duterte has a deep relationship with her predecessor, Leni Robredo. On Storycon, Trillanes said it even influenced the stance of some key opposition figures when it came to the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte.
During the course of the campaign, sinabi nila na ang position nila sa ICC ay hindi nila i-recognize yung jurisdiction at hindi nila ibibigay si Digong sa ICC kung naging presidente si Leni. Ngayon, in fact, as late as last year, nire-request yan sa akin nila Bam Aquino na baka daw, kung pwede daw i-delay yung pag-issue ng arrest warrant kay Digong dahil baka daw makaka-apekto sa kandidatura nila. Talagang merong alyansa sila eh.
Trillanes also alleged that Sara and Leni's alliance go as far back as the presidential elections of 2022. He also cited what happened in September last year when Duterte visited Robredo in Naga City. The former senator also called out the former VP's silence on impeachment moves against her successor.
Yung Rosa, alam niyo yung Rosa, Robredo, Sara, na coalition. Na to the point na nung isang rally namin sa Pangasinan, hindi nila pinaakyat si then VP candidate Kiko Pangilinan sa entablado. Kasi nga dun sa Robredo-Sara alliance. So meron ng ganon ever since. Up to now, si Mayor Leni has yet to say anything about the impeachment trial of Sara Duterte. Alam mo, malakas na boses yan. Leni, pero she's quiet. Tapos yun na nga, yung binisita doon. Alam nyo, based sa information namin, yung pagbisita doon sa Naga, ano yun eh, maagang na-set yun. Hindi naman yun yung 30 minutes na short notice. Kumaga, naman tayo, ginagawa tayong parang bata. Alam natin yon. Tapos talagang hinos niya. And ako, bilang insider doon sa mga pink, talagang alam namin na may mga ganun sila nagalaw.
Robredo's former spokesperson, Attorney Barry Gutierrez, however, questioned Trillanes' claims. On the big story, he pointed out that VP Sara repeatedly attacked Robredo during her term as vice president.
If Sara Duterte and Leni Robredo were friends, particularly in the 6 years where we were in the OVP and VP Leni was vice president, she certainly had a strange way of showing it.
Gutierrez also denied the alliance between Sara and Leni during the 2022 elections.
She had only one vice presidential candidate, and that was Senator Kiko Pangilinan. We went on record several times to emphasize that precisely because there were some groups, and this is again a matter of record. There were some groups, the group of former Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez. They threw their support behind VP Leni Robredo sometime March, April of 2022, late in the campaign. And my understanding was, their position was, it should be a Leni-Sara ticket.
Now in other news, the Philippines and India signed 13 bilateral agreements following a meeting between President Bongbong Marcos and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 4 of the agreements focus on military cooperation, including structured talks between their armed forces and enhanced maritime coordination. President Marcos said the deals support the Philippines' defense modernization and praised India's role, especially through the BrahMos missile project. Both countries also agreed to boost military ties through intelligence sharing, joint training, and regular service-to-service talks. Meanwhile, India expressed support for the peaceful resolution of the West Philippine Sea dispute, backing the 2016 arbitral ruling and adherence to the international law. India has now become the Philippines' 5th official strategic partner following the signing of a strategic partnership declaration and a plan of action covering 2025 to 2029.
And for more updates on President Bongbong Marcos' state visit to India, we have mobile journalist Julie Baisa. Julie,
Hi, Julie.
Go ahead. Ano yung mga highlights natin?
Good morning, Angela Jago. Today, yung schedule ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ay pakikipagpulong sa iba't ibang mga negosyante dito. Magkakaroon siya ng roundtable discussion with the CEOs of different companies and magkakaroon din siya ng another meeting with another company dito sa India. And before doon sa naging bilateral meeting, nagkaroon din tayo ng pagkakataon na makausap si Yusek Ler Castro on different issue. Nagsalita na rin ng pamahalaan doon sa recent China incident na naglunsad nga sila ng kinumpirma ng Philippine Coast Guard na merong narinig na tunog malapit nga sa Palawan pa. Kasunod naman ng launch ng rocket ng China. Ang sabi ni Yusek Ler Castro, inihimok daw ng Department of Foreign Affairs ang lahat ng bansa na maging responsable sa pagsasagawa ng space activities at irespeto ang karapatan ng iba pang estado. Alinsunod daw sa napag-usapan ni na Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at ni President Xi noong 2023, gagamitin pa rin yung mechanisms, communication mechanisms ng China at Pilipinas na itinatag para pag-usapan yung pagsasaayos sa mga post-launch impact. Wala pang magiging hakbang ang Pilipinas sa ngayon, ayon kay Castro, kasi pag-aaralan pa daw dahil sa ngayon mukhang wala naman daw naging malaking epekto at walang nalabag ang China doon sa kanilang ginawa.
Yeah, Julie, has any member of the Indian government or parliament made a clear stance with regards to backing the Philippines against China? Especially itong recent last few days, yung missile ng supposed missile ng China na bumagsak sa Palawan.
Si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos yung nagsalita at nagpasalamat kasi sa pag-uusap daw nila ni Prime Minister Modi, nireaffirm niya yung suporta ng India sa ongoing dispute nga ng Pilipinas sa West Philippine Sea and yung suporta din sa 2016 arbitration.
Julie, perhaps can you also tell us about yung recent deal din ng Pilipinas at India regarding naman dun sa free e-visas ng India to the Philippines and of course yung resumption of direct flight from India between the Philippines and India?
Yes, Angela, magkakaroon nga ng free e-visa ang Pilipinas starting September 1 or let me check kung isasabay ba siya dun sa October. Yung direct flight kasi between Philippines and India sa October siya mangyayari. So ito na anunsyo na din to previously ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos doon sa kanyang PhilCom meeting. Yung e-visa naman, bago lang niyang sinabi dyan sa joint press statement. Ang sabi nila yun si Prime Minister Modi, nabanggit din niya na plano nilang palakasin yung turismo. Tayo sa Pilipinas, plano natin na pataasin pa yung mga tourist arrival kasi from 2017, upward yung trend natin, pataas ng pataas yung mga Indian nationals na bumibisita sa bansa.
Julie, hanggang kailan si President Bongbong Marcos dyan sa India? And what else, di ba, ang expect natin sa kanyang pagbisita dyan?
Angela, dito sa New Delhi, hanggang ngayong araw na lang si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos kasi bukas tutulak na kami pa Bangalore, India. Yun nga yung tinatawag nila na Silicon Valley ng India. After naman doon, magstay ang Pangulo ng isang gabi kasi by Friday, lilipad na rin kami pabalik ng Pilipinas. And yun na nga yung end ng kanyang official state visit dito. Ang iba pang aasahan bukod doon sa mga business discussion sa Bangalore, yung discussions din on new technologies, information technology kasi iyon din yung sentro or iyon yung hub nung kumbaga parang hub siya ng mga IT and ICT dito sa India.
May nabanggit ba, Julie, about AI deals? Kasi alam ko they're looking at importing AI systems for the Philippines for future use.
Wala pa tayong listahan kung ano-anong kumpanya yung makakausap ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ngayong umaga. Pero by 12 noon here, so mga alas 2:30 dyan sa Pilipinas, magbibigay ng update si Yusek Claire Castro dito sa amin. So bibigyan ko at babalitaan ko kayo.
Sige, okay.
Alright, maraming salamat to our mobile journalist Julie Baiza reporting live from India.
All right, Senator Risa Hontiveros is sounding the alarm on what she calls bad bets by the GSIS. Hontiveros said the GSIS allegedly invested over 1 billion pesos in DigiPlus and an online gambling platform. She questioned why the pension fund for government employees would invest in online gambling. Hontiveros also pointed to a pattern of what she called reckless investments, including a subscription agreement with Alternergy Holdings, a company that she says had massive debt.
In the first place, what was GSIS thinking? Investing funds in online gambling. Tayo nga po, mga kasamang nagtatrabaho sa gobyerno, hindi pwedeng tumuntong sa casino. Lalo na, hindi pwedeng magsugal doon. Kaya, bakit ang GSIS naman, todo taya, at ginawang puhunan ang pera ng public employee sa sugalan?
Ako, medyo yung allegation na yan talagang matindihan kung totoo, di ba? May mga supporting documents si Senator Risa during her speech yesterday, privileged speech na sa Senate. But we'll see. We're trying to contact, of course, people from the GSIS to get comments from them, also from their side kung ano-ano tong mga sinasabi ni Senator Risa Hontiveros.
And we have to take a look actually kung ano yung guidelines ng GSIS with terms to investing, because they're allowed to invest.
They're allowed to invest.
But ang I want to know kasi on a personal level, personality level, bawal sila mag-casino.
Bawal
because
casino.
Pero in terms of investments, we want to see ano yung limitations sila.
Kasi ang investment nila, yung duty nila to invest itong mga contributions nga ng kanilang members should be, would meet the requirements of liquidity, safety, or security. And of course, that would lead to the guarantee of course, yung magandang investment para sa mga members. Kasi nung nakikita nila yung isang sinasabi ni Senator Risa, yung Alternergy
may debt, massive debt.
Oo, may massive debt daw. Yung bakit doon din nag-i-invest. So, yung isa pa yun, tingnan din natin kung ano-ano yung mga maaaring sagot ng GSIS regarding
Kasi yung GSIS may mga and most corporations, they have their brokers, their stock brokers there that understand the market. Although a company can be in debt, pero sometimes may forecast sila na nakikita na on an upward trend, aangat yung investment. Kasi kung ikaw investor, hindi ka mag-i-invest sa company na sa taas na. Kasi alam mong bababa na yan eh. So you're looking at something that's from the down going up. But of course, Senator Hontiveros has information that we don't.
Yeah.
So we'd like to take a look at, ano yung explanation nyo? Why on online gambling? Anong nakita nyo doon?
DigiPlus, I was looking at it kanina. Itong DigiPlus na sinasabi ni Senator Risa Hontiveros na allegedly nag-invest ng GSIS dito. They were offered at the peak of 65.30 per share. Pero ngayon kasi, ang baba na niya, 13.68 na lang siya. So talagang, ang baba nung, di ba, yung ang taas ng investment. Tapos ngayon, at that cost, medyo lugi talaga. At tas gambling pa.
Usually okay.
Online
kasi ang rule, parang ang dyan, basic dyan is at least 5 points sa room of error. So kung 65 ang in-offer sa kanila, okay lang ang drop to 59 or okay ang increase. Pero ang problema, 65 to 30, that means
pesos.
Hindi naman ganun ka, anong better word, unintelligent ang broker para hindi makita na ganun kalayo ang dive na pwedeng makita. Tapos especially kung may insider information na the government studying about either regulating or banning it, di ba? So, bababa talaga ang shares niyan.
Totoo. Tapos yun nga, she's taking a look at it na dun sa pattern of investment na ginagawa ng GSIS, mukhang talagang hindi maganda dahil hindi maganda yung placing of investment nila dahil yung sa mga records showing na medyo bumababa yung stock value kung saan sila nag-i-invest. Tapos yun nga, yung sa Alter Energy ay may
A company in debt.
Oo, massive yung utang ng kumpanya na yon. But yeah, as I've said kanina, we're trying to get in touch with the GSIS pero until now wala pa naman
Saka
sila
pension,
nabibigay who will talk regarding
pension funds sa mga employees.
Who will answer our questions.
Pension funds ng government employees yan. Pinaglalaroan nila yan.
Oo. Alright, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Supreme Court has given Vice President Sara Duterte's camp 10 days to respond to the House's appeal on her impeachment case. Here's a report.
Earlier this week, the House of Representatives appealed the Supreme Court's decision, declaring the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte unconstitutional. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court responded, directing the Vice President's camp to comment on the appeal. The High Court also noted the motion for reconsideration filed by Representative Percy Sandanya and others, pending its action on their motion for intervention. But the Supreme Court has yet to issue a ruling on that motion. Coinciding with this, various groups gathered outside the Supreme Court to demand that the impeachment process against VP Sara be pursued. According to Kiko Aquino D. of Tindig Pilipinas and nephew of former President Noynoy Aquino, failing to hold leaders accountable sets a dangerous precedent.
Dapat talaga magkaroon ng pananagutan. Hindi pwedeng mawala yung proseso ng impeachment. Otherwise, maulit po yung nangyari nung panahon ng diktadura na yung mga matataas na opisyal, wala talagang salbabida yung taong bayan kung sila yung mga abuso.
The Isang Bayan Coalition, composed of retired Supreme Court justices, legal experts, and religious and democratic groups, also filed a consolidated motion for reconsideration and intervention. Their appeal for the High Court is to issue a status quo anti-order, preventing the Senate from acting on or dismissing the impeachment complaint.
Nakakatawa sa Senado. Noong February 5, ang utos ng Constitution, forthwith. Pero inabot sila ng ilang buwan. Ngayon, wala namang sinasabing forthwith. Ang sinasabi lang, meron desisyon na for execution, pero do they execute immediately? Nasa sa kanila po yun. Kaya nga sinasabi natin, bakit naman mag-execute sila kaagad? Meron pa namang motion for recon. Meron pa namang puwang. Ang ika nga nito, hindi pa ho final ang kaso.
And now let's head over at the House of Representatives. For the latest, we have mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Hey Amy, ano bang reaksyon ng Congress dito sa sinasabi ng SC na mag-comment daw muna si VP Sara dito sa kanyang impeachment appeal for 10 days?
Well, good morning, Angela Diego. Here at the House of Representatives, of course, we're waiting for a lot of things to happen. But regarding the case of Vice President Sara Duterte, of course, the House is also focused on the possible voting of the Senate Impeachment Court regarding the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. And of course, there are also a lot of priority bills that they are still trying to talk about in the plenary sessions starting this week up until today. And that's what we're going to wait for today. And of course, aside from that, let's just talk about the online gambling and the revival of Quadcom here in the House of Representatives. Alam nyo, Angela, Diego, naging malaking usapin nga yan dito sa House of Representatives kahapon at talagang sabi nila, ire-revive nila yung Quadcom at tatawagin nila itong Quadcom 2.0 dahil nga gusto nilang i-revisit yung mga investigations na nagawa nila. Kung naalala natin, nung 19th Congress naman, ay hinawakan ng Quadcom yung kaso ng missing sabongeros, pati na nga rin yung sa mga pogos. And kahapon, narinig din natin sa privilege speech ni Cagayan de Oro 2nd District Representative Rufus Rodriguez na magpa-file siya ngayong araw ng total ban on online gambling. So abangan din natin kung ano nga ba mangyayari dyan. And later on din today, no, Angela, Diego, magkakaroon din ng press conference with House spokesperson Princess Abante, pati na rin kasama niya si impeachment spokesperson Attorney Bukoy patungkol nga dito sa mangyayari pa kay Vice President Sara Duterte. So pati mananatili naman tayo nakaantabay patungkol dyan.
Amy, kasi coming off the speech of Speaker Romualdez, no, saying that he stands by what the House did, tapos yung Supreme Court daw may pagka-overreach. Kulang na lang sabihin niya yun, na nag-overreach sila sa powers nila. In case yung MR hindi mag-grant, MR ng House of Representatives hindi mag-grant, meron ka bang idea kung ano ang next step ng House of Representatives, kung tatanggapin nila yung decision, or they have other legal remedies in mind?
Well, wala pa tayo nung concrete answer, no? Pero based lang din sa mga nagiging press conferences, interviews natin, lalo na sa mga miyembro ng House Prosecution Panel, no? Patuloy nilang ilalaban at naniniwala nga din sila na dahil nga hindi pa naman nagbobotohan ng Senado, ay may chance pa na magtuloy-tuloy itong impeachment process ni Vice President Sara Duterte. And for sure, most likely ang biggest possibility talaga dyan ay magkaroon sila ng ibang remedy dahil nga pinaglalaban nila na hindi naman daw naging unconstitutional yung proseso nila. Nag-file sila nitong fourth impeachment complaint kung saan nga nakakuha sila ng 1/3 ng pirma ng mga kongresista rito. At yun nga ang rason, yun yung final nilang impeachment complaint. Tsaka pa nila in-archive yung 3 earlier impeachment complaints na final nila. So hindi naman daw talaga na naging unconstitutional or hindi din nila nalabag yung 1-year bar rule na sinasabi dito sa Kongreso at saka na rin ang Supreme Court. So most likely talaga may chance na magpatuloy sila sa paglaban, and syempre ipaalam nga yung impeachment, yung naging impeachment complaint nila kay Vice President Sara Duterte dahil nga para sa kanila mas importante yung transparency and accountability ng isang public official.
But that's right, Amy. Aside from monitoring the Supreme Court, I'm sure, no, if you have word, are they closely monitoring the Senate as well? Kasi regardless kung mag-grant ang MR o hindi, kung nag-vote na ang Senate, not impeachment court, but the Senate to totally dismiss it, regardless of the MR, wala nang laban. Do you have any info kung ano man sinabi ng prosecution team ng impeachment about that?
Well, yan yung alamin natin later on today. Most likely, yan din yung tatalakayin nga ni Attorney Bukoy patungkol nga dito sa magiging impeachment case ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Actually, medyo may kaba, no? Kasi kung maririnig din natin yung mga statements ng ilang miyembro ng Senado, no? Narinig na natin si Senator Bato de la Rosa na irespeto na lang daw yung desisyon ng Supreme Court. Ganyan din yung sinabi ni Senator Win Gatchalian patungkol nga dito. Respetuhin. Wala mga direct answer kung ano nga ba magiging boto nila, kung i-convict ba or i-acquit yung magiging plano ng Senado dito. Yun yung lagi nilang madalas nating marinig na sinasabi nga ng mga senador na irespeto na lang yung desisyon ng Supreme Court. Pero yung on the other side naman, 'di ba, narinig din natin si Senator Risa Ontiveros na handa naman daw siyang ipaglaban yung pagpapatuloy ng impeachment process kay Vice President Sara Duterte.
Well, Amy, going back dun sa sinabi mo kanina, yung revival ng Quadcom 2.0, and I believe ang nag-file ng resolution nito ay si Congressman Abante, and he will reprise his role nung last year pa yung chairmanship niya ng Human Rights Committee. Pero other than him, sino-sino pa yung papalit na yung key chairmanship po nung kasama nitong Quadcom na to? Dahil we all know, some of the chairmen from the previous Congress ay hindi na nakasama ngayong 20th Congress.
Yes, ang isa sa mga pinaka naging highlight nga rin dito na magtitake on ng key leadership role pagdating sa Quadcom 2.0 ay si Representative Terry Redondo na chairperson ng Committee on Public Accounts, na alala natin noong Lunes nga ay talagang natalakay niya na nagkaroon na sila ng briefing with the DPWH officials patungkol nga sa magiging budgets, pati na nga rin dun sa naging substandard work sa mga flood control projects dito sa bansa, no? So ayun, patuloy lang din naman sila nga antabay ng araw dahil nga malaking bagay din na magko-continue si Representative Benny Abante sa kanyang key leadership role para mag-guide din yung mga new chairpersons, pati na rin yung mga bagong kongresista na sasali dito sa investigations, lalo na sa human rights and public accounts.
All right, thank you, mobile journalist Amy Atienza, for that report. Meanwhile, the Senate's trust and performance ratings dipped in the second quarter, tugon ng masa survey by Okta Research. Trust in the Senate fell to 49%, down from 57% in November 2024. Its performance rating also dropped to 47% from 53% previously. Okta notes that many of the respondents were undecided on the Senate's trustworthiness and performance. In contrast, the House of Representatives saw an improvement. Its trust rating rose to 57% from 49%, while its performance rating climbed to 55% from 47%. Now let's get some insights on that interesting development.
Yeah, we have Attorney Michael Yusinko of the Ateneo Policy Center joining us again via Zoom. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Attorney. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning to the both of you. Good morning to all your viewers and listeners.
All right, Attorney, let's start off with that recent report that we have. In the last decade or so, it's always been the Senate that has had better trust and performance ratings than the House of Representatives. And it's always been said that the House was the one following Malacanang and ang Senate ang independent. Pero parang ngayon, nag-shift ang perception ng tao. And what do you attribute this to?
I think, Diego, it's very clear. No? I think the people saw the inaction of the Senate on the impeachment complaint when it was transmitted to it February 5. No? Because very clearly the Constitution says that they must conduct trial forthwith. No? Yeah. So I think yung naging very cavalier sila and nonchalant about it, talagang hindi nagustuhan ng taong bayan yun and lost a degree of trust. Kaya ganyan ang resulta ng surveys.
But before we, just in connection to that, Attorney, it's very rare kasi na makita mo ang Senado na ganyan. No? But do you attribute this kasi elections was around the corner, around the time na the impeachment was in play, and you all know yung votes ng mga senators are in nature, kailangan niya, it's the whole country ang tinatarget niya, whereas yung congressman per district. So parang wala na masyadong fear ang congressman to tackle a popular political figure because alam nila they only need votes from their district.
Yes, that's certainly a fair point, no. But still, no, the reality is because senators run on a national level, syempre yung perception sa kanila is also nationwide, no. Mm-hmm. And when you see a leader when you see the leader of the Senate acting that way, syempre na-attribute mo yung ganong klaseng attitude dun sa institution itself. So the election, maybe played a big part, no? Pero you can also argue the election produced Senator Bam and Senator Kiko, right? Na naging senador na rin sila after many times of losing elections, no? So I think para sa akin, if you ask me, the survey results that you just reported, I think that can be directly attributed to the inaction on the impeachment complaint last February.
Mm-hmm. Attorney, on the Senate pa rin, pero medyo let's gear toward dun sa dito nga sa usapin ng SC ruling. Today, August 6, supposedly mag-convene ng Senado bilang in a plenary, to officially vote kung ano yung magiging action nila dito sa SC ruling. Will they, sabi nga nila, dalawa daw yung magiging scenario. Will they abide by the SC ruling? Or they will proceed with the trial, which is sabi nga nila, medyo impossible yun. So, what do you think what will happen today? Is there a possibility na i-postpone nila yung voting because may mga MR at saka meron pang ine-expect na reply or comment from the Duterte camp in 10 days?
Alam mo, Angela, maybe if the Supreme Court said that they will stay the execution of the decision, baka pwedeng the senators will say, sige, hintayin na lang natin until makapag-decide na yung ng Supreme Court with finality. But the Supreme Court said that the decision stands as immediately executory. No? So even if there's a pending MR, the decision is still immediately executory. So I don't see any reason for the Senate to say na i-postpone na lang natin or hintayin natin, no? Because para sa akin, if you ask me, you should follow the law, and the law is the Supreme Court decision right now. So if you're going to defy the Supreme Court decision by saying sige, hintayin na lang natin or ituloy natin yung impeachment trial, then that's tantamount to saying we are defying the law.
Kasi attorney, some legal experts have said while the Supreme Court saying it's immediately executory, but in hindsight also there is a provision for the motion of reconsideration, meaning slow chance, but there is a possibility that the decision made could be overturned. So ang nasa isip siguro ng iba daw senators was, if we decide to outrightly accept it right now and after 10 days biglang i-reverse ng Supreme Court ang pag-iisip nila, how will the optics look for the Senate? What can they do now na totally nabasura na yung impeachment case?
Yeah, actually the rules provide that an MR stays the execution of a decision, no? Unless the court says that it does not. So yun yung inaasahan namin marami na kapag nag-MR na, the decision will be stayed, no? Yun na nakalagay sa rules, eh.
Yeah.
But the rules also say that unless the court who issued the decision says that it is not stayed. Eh yun ang sinabi ng Supreme Court, di ba, na the decision is still immediately executory. That means sinasabi na nila that even with the MR, the decision is not stayed or is not stopped from being implemented.
Parang for a attorney, for a regular person, parang conflicting. Pero in other words, are you saying in the absence of a TRO, kailangan i-accept na mamaya ng Senado ang yung ruling ng Supreme Court?
Yes, something like that. No? Not that we don't. There's no chance of a TRO anymore, no? Kasi meron na tayong final decision. The MR would have, kumbaga, parang stop the decision from being implemented. That's according to the rules. But according to the rules also, except if the court says na tuloy pa rin yung desisyon, eh yun ang sinabi ng Korte Suprema, tuloy pa rin, immediately executory pa din. So, unless sabihin ng court ulit na, sige, babaguhin na rin namin, we are staying the execution of the decision, then tigil. But right now, if the Senate decides to continue with the impeachment trial, well, they are defying the Supreme Court decision, and that is tantamount to defying the law.
Baka mag-constitutional crisis daw. Pero, attorney, what do you have to say to those petitioners, asking the Supreme Court for a status quo, anti-order, and meron pa silang sinasabi na interventions to allow them to intervene para dun sa mga oral argument, etc. What do you say about that? Kasama dito sa mga petitioners na to, a former framer ng Constitution natin, si Christian Monsod, Shelo Magno, Heidi Mendoza. What do you say about that?
Well, that's certainly well within the rights of those petitioners, no?
But how plausible is this?
So wala tayong masasabing negative doon, because that's part of our constitutional process or our constitutional order. Siguro ang personal wish ko lang, sana they intervened earlier, during the petition itself, the stage where they can still intervene, no? Kasi right now, meron ng decision any intervention right now will be, kumbaga, up to the discretion of the court, no? Na papayagan pa ba natin to at this late stage of the process. But if they intervened earlier, before the decision, the court would have less discretion and would have been compelled to accept their arguments, no? As So, sa akin, they can do that, obviously, okay yan. In fact, that's welcome. But parang sana mas maaga nila ginawa.
But talking about earlier na intervention na maaari nilang ginawa, what do you say about the timing naman ng paglabas nga ng SC ruling? It was on a Friday, before the State of the Nation address of our President.
Yeah.
Kasi some people are questioning the timing about that. What do you have to say about that?
Definitely, it's very surprising, to say the least. The fact that it was released on that day, 2 days before the SONA, and also that fast, that quick, kasi kaming mga practitioners, ang hinihintay namin, at the very least, baka 3 months yung decision na yan or 4 months pa nga. But it happened so fast. And also, in addition to that, there was no oral arguments.
Yes, that's right.
So parang mapapakamot ka talaga ng ulo na bakit, di ba? Bakit ang bilis at bakit walang oral arguments? For an issue this controversial and very politically kumbaga invested ang mga tao rito, then dapat sa akin personally again, oral argument should have been conducted, no? But the fact na hindi, tapos ang bilis yung paglabas ng desisyon, nakakagulat. And ang end result actually, Diego and Angela, is a decision that is, well, for me, poorly written, na maraming nahihirapan unawain yung decision mismo.
Pero pag ganyan, very quick lang, pero pag ganyan, attorney, usually, meron ba tayong history na naiiba? Pero kasi 'di ba, kumbaga, what I mean is unanimous kasi yung vote ng SC 13-0-2 yung yung isa wala, yung isa nag-abstain. Pero 'di ba historically pagka unanimous yung ganyan na boto, hindi na nababago yan kahit mag-MR ka pa. Or merong history.
I mean, that's the conventional thinking, no? But still there is a chance na baguhin kasi meron lang very recent decision ng Supreme Court that they changed their ruling based on an MR, no? But that's a different topic, but still nangyari pa rin, 'di ba, na nag-MR yung isang party and the Supreme Court changed its ruling. So it is still possible, but gaya na sabi mo, 13-0 unanimous yung decision, baka highly improbable na lahat sila magbabago or even majority of them will change their minds.
That's right. They need 7 no, to overturn that. But attorney, one plausible scenario and the possible scenario sa Senate is if they decide, let's say, no, hindi naman nila susuwayin yung Supreme Court, pero sabihin ng senador, mag-antay tayo, let's defer the voting for 10 days, wait for the MR, pero hindi naman isa-start or they won't reconvene the impeachment court. Technically, they're not going against the ruling of the Supreme Court. Is this another safe scenario that the Senate can look into?
Yes, it is a safe scenario, as you say, Diego. But again, I go back to the words of the decision, and I can speak only on the decision itself, and that it is immediately executory. So, yeah, saying let's wait for 10 days or 15 days, that's probably, kumbaga, parang letting the pro-impeachment senators, parang giving them a bone or something. But in the end, no, the decision must still be followed because it is the law now.
Pero go ahead.
Well, I was wondering kasi we had former Senate President Franklin Drilon over a few days ago, and we also asked him this question about sa tingin po ba ninyo nagkaroon nga ng judicial overreach ang Supreme Court sa kanilang ruling na ito, and he said yes. He feels na nagkaroon nga daw ng judicial overreach, but he urged the Senate to abide by it to avoid nga daw the constitutional crisis. Your thoughts on that po?
If you read the decision, you will certainly feel that there is judicial overreach, no? Kasi the tenor of the decision, the way it is written kasi, parang nangangaral siya ng mga mambabatas eh. Parang tinuturuan niya like a law professor na, kasi hindi niyo binasa yung assignment niyo, ganito dapat ang gawin ninyo. No? So, if you read it, of course you will feel that there's judicial overreach. No? But if you really analyze the words, I mean the content, kung ano yung sinasabi ng Supreme Court, wala naman silang sinasabing bago eh. Wala naman silang sinasabing, kumbaga, hindi maganda. In other words, they are just merely actually regurgitating principles that we already know. It's just the way that it was written kasi, very condescending parang sinasabi niya sila mga mababatas. Kasi hindi kayo marunong ng due process, ito ang due process.
And supposedly, hindi dapat nakikialam dahil co-equal branches sila on the processes ng each branch of government.
Yeah. And finally lang, before we let you go, I'd like to ask, ano yung comment mo sa tono ni House Speaker Martin Romualdez reminding the Supreme Court that they are also impeachable officials?
Well, I think that's irresponsible, no? Kasi that is really inviting a constitutional crisis, no? Kasi if you think about it, kung lahat ng Supreme Court justices ay ma-impeach, ano ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin nun, the President will be given the privilege to appoint 15 justices, right? So, I mean, that's irresponsible. An irresponsible proposal to make.
Yeah, but mahaba-haba pa to. And later on, we'll see right after the Senate decides on this. In the meantime, thank you very much for your time, Attorney Michael Yusinko of the Ateneo Policy Center. Right now, let's get some updates from the Senate. We have with us Mobile Journal Merymon Reyes via Zoom.
Hey, Merymon.
Magandang umaga sa inyo. So far ngayon dito sa Senado tahimik pa, pero around 3 o'clock in the afternoon mamaya, asahan na natin yung hindi lang ugong dito sa loob at labas ng Senado, kundi yung mainit na debatehan o argumento ng mga senador patungkol nga doon sa impeachment case laban kay VP Sara, how they're going to move forward, if susundin nga ba nila yung ruling ng Korte Suprema na nagsasabing unconstitutional right from the start, walang jurisdiction ng Senado right from the beginning, or kung magkakaroon ba ng paghihintay doon sa magiging sasagutan ng Supreme Court sa apela naman ng Kamara na final nila kahapon. Kasi currently din, binigyan din ng a non-extendable period of 10 days ng Supreme Court itong sina VP Sara Duterte, pati ang kanyang abogado na si Atty. Israelito Torion, para magbigay na rin ng kanilang komento tungkol nga doon sa apela naman ng Kamara. So ngayon, so far, may nabanggit din Senate President Pro Tempore Jinggoy Estrada na around 19 to 20 senators ang mukhang ng direksyon nila ay sundin na lamang yung ruling ng Korte Suprema. Pero for Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator Bam Aquino, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and even Senator Tito Soto na nagsabi pumirma doon sa draft resolution nga para sa pagpapatuloy nitong impeachment trial at hindi sinasabi nila is wag daw munang pagmadaliin yung pagboboto kasi nga lalo pa meron ngayong kailangang ikonsidera na motion for reconsideration ng Kamara. Pero ang nasabi kahapon ni Senator Erwin Tulfo, asahan nga raw nila yung mainit na debate between the PDP Laban Bloc and itong panig ni na Senadora Risa kasi nagkaroon na nga ng inalot na time ng paghihintay sa kanila. Dapat last week pa itong deciding day nila. Even Senator Rodante Marcoleta nga raw yung may nais na ma-dismiss na itong impeachment. Pero since kailangan daw ng oras o panahon, lalo na para pag-aralan, asahan natin mamaya talaga na mukhang magiging matagal at punong-puno ang mga debate tungkol dito. Sabi naman ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, kung meron daw 20 versus or against 4, magiging mainit daw ba talaga yung debate? Pero para sa kanya, flexible naman daw siya, makikinig daw siya mamaya, pero hindi pa nito nababago yung kanyang katayuan na dapat sundin yung ruling ng Korte Suprema. Balik sa inyo.
Yeah, Merymon, I've seen the numbers also, no? It's as solid as that na against and for. Pero meron yung mga also senators na against impeachment. May nagsabi rin kasi, I don't remember who, na wait, oo nga, no, baka magkaroon ng problema kung we try to dismiss it today and 10 days from now, tanggapin ng MR ng Supreme Court, magkakaroon ng erosion of public trust, no, on the institutions. Do you have possible fence-sitters, 20 na for the pagbabasura ng impeachment complaint na possibly, sige, mag-antay muna tayo?
Yung mga nagsasabi na hopefully maghintay muna, pinaka naririnig natin ito mula sa paharig nila Senator Bam Aquino and Senator Risa Ontiveros kasi sinasabi nga nila, bakit kailangan pagmadaliin? Lalo pa ngayon na merong kailangan i-consider din na appeal at motion for reconsideration mula sa Kamara. Pero base sa mga nakausap natin, lalo na sa mga lumipas na linggo, etong lalo na ang Duterte Block kasama ang magkapatid na Villar, mukhang ang direksyon talaga nila is sundin na yung pinaka-ruling ng Korte Suprema. At ang sinasabi pa nga dito ni Senator Bato, itong sinasabi ng Constitution, ang final arbiter pagdating sa mga legal or constitutional issues ay ang Korte Suprema. So, wala na raw ibang above or supreme doon sa Korte Suprema. Si God nga lang daw ang above dito. So, bakit pa raw kailangan pagdebatehan ang mga ito? Pero ang nasabi naman ni Senator Erwin, syempre ang importante raw dito, kahit may boto siya, may boto na rin daw si Senator Raffy na kanyang kapatid, importante raw ngayon na marinig yung pagpapaliwanag ng mga senador kung bakit nga ba ganito yung magiging boto nila. Ito si Senator Bato, ayaw niya raw magsalita para sa iba pang mga miyembro ng Duterte Block, pero para talaga sa kanya, wala na raw. Actually, hindi na raw kailangan ng debate, sundin na raw ang ruling ng Korte Suprema. Pero again, titignan natin mamaya kung magkakaroon nga ba ng pagbobotohan or if magkakaroon ng pagpapaliban dito sa kanilang boto dahil nga kailangan pang makonsider yung apila at saka yung motion for reconsideration ng Kamara.
Oo, pero meron na bang komento ang Senado dyan kahit isa sa kanila doon sa sinusulong ngayon ng ilang civil society groups led by former Supreme Court justices na wag muna silang mag-decide on this case dahil habang gumugulong pa nga itong MR mula sa House of Representatives?
Actually, pagdating nga dito, medyo tikumpay yung at sinusubok pa natin makakuha ng panayam sa iba pang mga senador. Pero ang pinakapare-pareho kasi nilang sinasabi, even sina Senator J.B. Ejercito, Senator Joel Villanueva, na nakapanayam natin itong mga lumipas na araw, ginamit daw talaga nila itong linggo na to para aralin at busisiin. So kasama na rin dyan na kung sakaling ma-raise itong apela at motion for reconsideration ng Kamara, maaari rin daw nilang pagbotohan mamaya kung paano nito maapektuhan yung kanilang moving forward. Kasi ang nasabi din dyan ni Senator Bato kahapon, magkaiba daw, hiwalay raw na usapan itong apela or motion for reconsideration ng Kamara. Sa kanila raw dito sa Senado, kailangan daw nilang lalawin kung paano nga ba nila i-interpret yung naging ruling ng Supreme Court. So pwedeng hiwalay yung usapan tungkol dito sa apela ng Kamara at hiwalay rin yung magiging usapan tungkol doon sa kanilang interpretasyon sa ruling ng Supreme Court, or maaaring mamaya altogether pagbobotohan na nila with all these considerations in mind. Kasi bukod din dyan doon sa labas, bago tayo pumasok dito sa Senado, marami na rin ang nakapwestong mga rallyista. At so far nakita natin doon ay Magdalo Party List at Akbayan Party List. At sa mabilis nating mga nakausap doon, asahan daw na mas darami pa ang numero ng mga taong magpoprotesta sa labas ng Senado.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyong oras, mobile journalist Merrimon Reyes. The MMDA is giving local government units until Friday to submit their recommended list of streets in Metro Manila to be covered by a street parking ban. Here's the report.
By Friday, the MMDA expects local government units in Metro Manila to submit the respective lists of streets they are recommending for a total or partial street parking ban, as well as those they want exempted from the ban. According to MMDA Chairman Attorney Romando Artes, LGUs are in a better position to determine which streets can accommodate parking and which ones cannot. The lists will serve as the basis for discussions between the MMDA and local officials to determine whether exemptions are reasonable and justified. Artes said that if it were solely up to him, a complete ban on street parking would be better, stressing that roads are meant for passage, not for parking. Still, he acknowledges that a blanket ban isn't practical given economic conditions and the needs of residents in certain areas.
Kung ako po ang masusunod at walang ibang ikokonsidera, agree po ako doon. Dahil iyan po yung magpapaluwag na ating mga karsada, lalong-lalo na yung kahit yung mga side streets ay magiging maluwag at madadaanan natin mga kababayan. Lagi ko nga po sinasabi, ang karsada naman po ay ginawa para daanan, hindi para pagparkan. Kailangan po pag-usapan namin to ng mga LGUs.
Once implemented, streets under a total ban will be strictly monitored by the MMDA. Illegally parked vehicles may face penalties ranging from 1 to 2,000 pesos. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines has reiterated its zero-tolerance policy on hazing and abuse. This comes after the death of Private Charlie Patigayon during a reception rite in Maguindanao del Norte. AFP Chief General Romeo Bronner Jr. has ordered all units to reject any form of hazing or degrading treatment. He said they remain committed to a culture of respect and accountability. An investigation into the matter is underway.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has warned the public about a surge in online job scams. According to the agency, fraudsters are using deceptive recruitment messages on chat apps and social media to lure people with promises of high-paying remote work. These schemes often begin with small payouts to build trust, then escalate to demands for deposits in exchange for larger earnings. In response, Senator Mark Villar filed a resolution calling for a Senate inquiry into the scams, citing a sharp rise in complaints. He also stressed that growing risks to both financial security and personal data posed by these fraudulent operations.
Changing a vehicle's muffler isn't just for show. Some say it also improves performance. But the LTO reminds motorists that exhaust sound must stay within legal limits to avoid causing a disturbance. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, Ivan Tarinque.
Hindi na mawawala sa rin ang mga sanga nagkalakas sa mga tambutso. Pero marami nalilito. Pwede na alam na may standard at limit para dyan.
Kumakalat online ang isang viral video kung saan makikita ang sagutan ng isang rider at traffic enforcer tungkol sa umunay maingay na tambutso ng motor. Mariin ang punto ng enforcer. Lumagpas na sa limit ang ingay ng muffler. Pero ayon sa rider, mali ang pamamaraan ng pagsukat. At dito na nga pumasok ang kalituhan. Ano ang tamang proseso? Ayon sa LTO Memorandum Circular Number 2020-2240, ang tamang pagsukat sa ingay ng exhaust ay dapat ginagawa sa 2,000 to 2,500 RPM. Hindi dapat lalagpas sa 99 decibels.
Itututok po natin dito. Then, 45 degree. Dito yung sound decibel natin. Tapos half throttle.
Standard na ang mga nakalagay na tambutso kapag bumili ng brand new na motor. Pero ang iba, may dahilan daw kaya pinapalitan ng tambutso. Gaya ng performance upgrade. Yan daw ang existe ng rider na si Arnel David na umaasa sa kanilang motor para sa pang-araw-araw na hanap buhay.
Para dugdaging power ng motor. Kasi pagka yung stock, medyo sakali takbo.
Hindi lang mga motorcycle riders ang saklaw ng bawal na maingay na tambutso. Kasama rin dito ang mga pribadong sasakyan at PUVs. Kung lalabag ka sa National Sound Level Standards, maaaring multahan ng hanggang 5,000 pesos at pwedeng ma-impound ng iyong sasakyan.
Pag tutubos ka, kailangan napalitan mo yung tambutso mo kasi susukatin pa doon sa opisina kung pinalitan mo na yung tambutso mo.
Alamin ang batas at ang tamang paraan ng pagsukat para iwas abala at hassle. Dalapin na amaringan naman sa pagbiyahe ay makarating sa ating destinasyon. About Journey Karikipohati, amo ka na balita.
A low-pressure area is expected to bring scattered rains and thunderstorms over several parts of the country. Affected areas include Cagayan Valley, Bicol Region, Aurora, Quezon, Marinduque, Romblon, and parts of eastern Visayas. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon continues to affect parts of Mindanao and the western Visayas. Areas such as the Zamboanga Peninsula, Negros Island Region, Basilan, Tawi-Tawi, Sultan Kudarat, and Sarangani may experience scattered rain showers and thunderstorms. Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon can expect generally fair weather, but localized thunderstorms may still occur. Pero reminder sa kanila, yung pagpalit ng tambutso does not automatically improve performance. Kailangan yung header or yung muffler ko sa nakakabit, palitan ko. Hindi, it's just purely less than 1% ang improvement sa performance. Kasi panahon namin ganun yun eh. Tapos we realized after measuring yung speed, hindi outright pinalitan mo yung tambutso. Ingay lang yan. Kailangan palitan mo pati yung dulo, yung tinatawag na yung converter tsaka yung header. Yung reminder lang kasi ang ingay sa daan eh. Oo, ingay-ingay, nakakagulat. Akala mo ano nangyayari eh. Alright, well, thank you for joining us again for another day of News and Views, and that wraps up our episode of News and Views.
Wala kang quote?
Ito. My quote of the day.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.